So hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into the TBD live stream here on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara or on NetNet Radio out of Tijuana. You just heard a live performance from Gerrit Hatcher live from their home in Chicago. So how have you been holding up during the quarantine or like COVID? Like how do you, uh, I guess, navigate that as a musician? Like or how do you like virtual gigs? Every artist I have usually has mixed responses in terms of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's great to play out there. It's honestly, I feel like a retired musician during all this, not in a melodramatic way, but I have, I like, I miss playing with my friends. It's the biggest part, and collaborators. But I have been focusing more on releasing music, or like making releases and finishing those out than doing virtual gigs for whatever reason.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
hasn't. This is my first, actually. This is my first live stream video that I've done for the whole thing. I was very reticent about it at first, and then that sort of formal reticence about the format faded away, and I'm totally down for it. I just hadn't been doing them, so
that's tight. So you mostly just been
breaking this.
hell yeah. So you mostly just been like focusing on working on releases and whatnot.
Yeah, and practicing and working and stuff, and just waiting for a time when we can do in-person concerts again. They started it up at some venues here in Chicago, but it's been a trickle, and nothing. I don't know. I try to remain patient because there's a lot of artists. There's a lot of artists in a lot of genres, and performers outside of music who are going to be chomping at the bit to start doing their thing again when this all wraps up. So I think that we're
Oh,
all
for sure.
finding ways to do. Yeah, we're finding ways to, do the things we enjoy, and that are in many ways our bread and butter during all this. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't
Yeah.
been very pioneering in that respect
Yeah, no worries. I feel like
at
a lot
all.
of people like haven't for the most part.
Hmm.
But I mean, like you said, I have been seeing some shows like starting to happen again, whether it be like outdoor, like whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's just gonna be the new reality of just like, oh, here's a show like I can look forward to in a month, and that's gonna be the only show that I'm probably gonna see for a while or something, you know?
I would like it if we start to think that way about it. Right now, I always feel very much behind the eight ball. I've like forgotten how to keep an eye on things, and I'll just be like
Oh,
1 hour before someone's doing something. It's like, something's happening in the world. I
I
gotta
know,
check it
dude.
out because
Yeah, I for sure feel you.
yeah.
So,
But
like you were saying, you're Chicago based, right? So growing up, I feel like in terms of myself, there wasn't much going on in terms of like DIY music from where I'm from, other than like what a few people were doing
mhm.
later on. So I like to ask this question because it usually varies by like geographic region. What was like the free jazz like improv scene like there? How did you get involved and navigate that?
Well, is the question about when I was coming up or about Chicago? Would you say?
I mean, I guess you can start by coming up.
Yeah, I mean, so short answer is that I got into this music before I was really around a scene in any meaningful way. You could count on. I grew up in Bloomington Normal, Illinois,
Okay.
which is about 2.5 hours south of the city. And then I went to the University of Illinois for university, where Bloomington Normal there was nothing like this going on, and not much by way of a DIY scene, but there was jazz music universities kind of breed that kind of stuff happening, having music programs and stuff, and I was always curious about that, what little things would pass through, but it was really a hobbyist's interest. And then in college, that university, a few people there brought in some, I was able to, see Joe McPhee and Douglas Ewart and people that would become important, to me. But it was, once again, it felt like a faraway thing. But then, yeah, coming to Chicago, when I did, it's an every day of the week when it's not, COVID-19 times.
Yeah,
It's every
yeah.
day of the week affair up here, and it was really a healthy, robust scene. And I don't know, it's a lot of what's a good word for it? Like, I wouldn't, synergy is dorky and not right, but there is a connection in a meaningful way between the entry points into this music here and the kind of heights of performance. I know a lot of the most important spaces here offer places for people that are just getting into it to play, or can, if you ask people, they'll give you the channel to, I don't know, find some of the smaller art spaces that are being started up by, people your age or whatever, and
Yeah.
start doing it. There's always kind of just new folks coming into the music. So, yeah. Not right now, sadly. But
Yeah, not right now, but so I guess like going back a little bit, did you like study jazz music or was it kind of just like a hobbyist like kind of thing like you were saying or
the hobby, intellectual interest. I thought
yeah.
for a time that I might study it, as like a, but I'm not, that was an undergraduate education idea, not a
Yeah, yeah,
not a
exactly.
professional goal. And I was in university ensembles and stuff, but no, I pretty much in my adult life committed to doing this, not a path I had been on
Yeah.
before. Yeah,
That's tight. We
yeah,
we love to see how a hobby can kind of grow into just kind of a thing that you're doing
yeah,
like
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
The hobby becomes your life, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess like has the Chicago scene that you're involved in now has that influenced your creativity in any way?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there's a scene and there's scenes here and there's histories on the north side, on the south side, generationally. You got your AACM, you got the cohorts of people going way back, from sort of the Vandermark, Mars Williams sphere, Hal Russell on the north side. That these people are still, Jim. There's a band called Extraordinary Popular Delusions that Mars is in, with Jim Baker and Steve Hunt and Brian Dorling, and they play. Wait, I'm sorry, Brian Sandstrom. That was a brain error. Uh, and they play every Monday, every week at the Bee Kitchen, this
Oh,
bar, the
that's
upstairs.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so tight.
So the inspiration is to just keep creating work and to keep your ears open to people that had their youth at a very different time and still ended up playing this music that to me is very cognizant that it's like that's the AACM, the art ensemble thing, the ancient to the future idea that like yeah, we're making this, a lot of us want to be progressive bleeding edge artists, but we're also making this sort of permanent work. And once with humility you can share the stage with people 3 times your age that are making in its heart the same kind of music as you've started to make or whatever.
Yeah.
And that you just keep doing it weekly for the rest of your life. That should be the ambition, to keep playing, not to, you know what I mean, not to have something very different happen.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
very different things happen musically. Maybe you meet some people that really excite you in the as collaborators or just as friends in the work. But I think it's taught me to see this as a life gig and enjoy it while it's happening. Especially COVID's taught me like, hey, this was good, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, at least for me.
Dude, that's amazing. That's so sick.
Hmm.
So I guess let's start talking about like your work a little bit. So your solo work is like pretty expansive, pretty amazing. I was like checking out your catalog via
Hmm.
your website and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it? What goes into like your solo records?
Oh man, it's kind of like an itch, which is fun and also not that, like, because I'm working on another one right now. I had 2 recent releases with two trios that I was really excited about this fall, and I thought I might make it through a year without releasing a solo thing, because sometimes it does just feel like a tick.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh no, I put the stuff down, I got to do it, so I'm gonna do it. But yeah, it's every time it's different. It usually I'm trying to learn to come to a place where I have an idea, not too like, you don't want to say, like not too focused of an idea, but you go into record knowing that you have a certain set of material to put down. Even if it's improvised, it's important to have that.
Yeah.
And I usually have like a different sort of very broad strokes painterly kind of formal idea of what I'd want each one to be like, and they've all been pretty different. So I think I really focused on pieces with the first 2, and I've been just uh, really breaking those bits down into more like almost like what would you say, like figures in a series or something.
Hmm.
Like, that's how I think about them now. It's like if I made like a series of similar sculptures or something like that, they could be meaningfully distinct, but also part of it is to make like a body of things that make sense with one another. And
Yeah.
that's a little bit different than what you might shoot for with a group when you're all putting in so much creative energy at all times. When you're playing alone, you can really like manage your patience and be like, I'm shaping this one. It has a lot of distinctive textures and characteristics. Yeah, it's like this other figure, but it's gonna be 2 of them on this record. And I think a lot of my solo stuff going forward will just have like numbered iterations of certain ideas, because it's like, yeah, I did 2 of these. That's
That
I'm
that's
perfectly
amazing.
fine
Yeah.
with that. But hopefully more to come. I don't know. It's fun to do, especially being alone all the time. You get to work on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, if you had like kind of a concept going into it, if or if it was just kind of like a thing that you started improving. But that's pretty cool to see that like you're kind of trying to like relate all of your works together. You know, that's sick.
Yeah, I mean, I think at different times I've written more or less out and had different things I was aiming towards, and that's kind of like it's a nice thing to look back and be like, oh, I sound like what I sound like. I sound like what I'm into or trying to do. That's good.
Mhm.
But there's things I used to do in terms of how I would, choose to write that I'm like, okay, that was almost like a stand-in or like a mnemonic device to remember something I know how to do without writing it, or to remember to like you're wishing you had form that you could spontaneously be more patient and stubborn and stick to. So you write it down to keep yourself to it. But you're
Yeah, yeah,
there's solo improvisers. You're your own boss.
yeah. That's sick. So I guess like can you talk a little bit more about how like that would go in terms of I guess like collaborating with like a trio or just like other people, like how does that work? Do you kind of how do you guys like I guess make a piece together, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's graciously that's a much more like I would say blackout environment. I know there's like in this recent Lee Morgan documentary, I think it's called I Called Him Morgan, and that's not like he wasn't making fully improvised music, quote unquote, so to speak, but same tradition. And there's Wayne Shorter is one of the people speaking on Lee's life in that interview. There's a part where he talks about like he needs a few drinks on him and up on stage he just wants to be in his bubble and just lose everything else. And that's romantic, but I think that's kind of what I agree with is that like there is no secret to how the sausage gets made when you're
Yeah.
doing improvised music with a group, except some sort of inexpressible thing. And I think a lot of people when they try to put too many words to it falter trying to be like, oh, you're, like I know there's other people that are very against the idea of what do you call it, like very against the idea of being obscurant about improvising, that you're supposed to
Mhm.
like, oh, we can't talk about this thing we do. Like I know there's that, like Joe Morris, I think I've seen him speak on like, oh no, we shouldn't be afraid to talk about the practices and the forms. And I to an extent agree with that, but personally, yeah, I don't. I know I have groups that are three-piece groups. I just dropped a thing with my trio Devouring the Guild with Eli Nami and Bill Harris, and then also out in California with Rob McGill and Patrick Soroshi. That's saxophone trio. Two totally different. Like I feel totally different when I'm in each of those contexts. The
Yeah.
latter being I've only worked with those two guys in that trio basically for one day, but it made a good record. But I guess I think, but yeah, with some groups it's like I'm not going to call it a jazz thing, but I know it's a momentum based affair, and I have no doubt that we're going to step up there and kind of do what we do, and that's not wrong. That's like the
Yeah.
point. And other things, you're constantly thinking about doing something different or subverting. I don't know. I try not to think too much about that.
Yeah, that's sick. So I guess one of my next questions is so I actually discovered your work a while back through the Astral Spirits like Unreal catalog.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, with your record Parables for Tenor. So
yeah,
how did you land this? Astral Spirits is probably like one of the biggest names in terms of like improvised music right now.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Nate is very friendly with all of the younger end of the Chicago scene that I guess I'm getting older, but that's was part of. And I knew people that were releasing records there, and you just pass along something you recorded. Hey, does this look good? Could we
Yeah.
do something with this? And then it was a yes, so that's that. But no, it's a very very good company to be in on that catalog, and I was really happy to put out a record with them. It came out exactly how I liked. Really a nice piece to me. So yeah, Astral's doing great. A lot of cool stuff on there.
Oh, for sure. So I guess like what went into that record? Like what was kind of like the concept that you went in for that? Like you were saying like it came out exactly how you wanted. Like how did you want that to be?
Oh, well,
If you can recall, I know it's been a while.
no. It's I mean, that yeah, that might have sounded a little arrogant for the music. I don't know about the music coming out exactly how I want always, but just to work with someone on creating a finished a thing, a product. But yeah, I recorded it with my friend Bill Harris. Recorded, mixed, and mastered that one, and we did it at this big booming room at the Music Garage, which is the space here. It ironically
Yeah.
ended up being this very close sounding album, but it was one of the larger, more reverberant rooms we could have picked. And I remember there was where we chose to record it. There was like a metal band through the wall,
Funny.
and that we could hear. So it was like, oh, this is garbage. We can't do this right now. This was a very
Yeah.
like we were having fun. It's not like a wrench. So we went and went to the Beat Kitchen where that group I mentioned earlier, the Delusions, I think were playing that night, and had a couple drinks and went back. And so the album was recorded entirely pretty late at night. It's like a 1-2 a.m. album.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, and the idea behind it, I knew going in. I don't know if I'd come up with everything yet, but I was really enjoying a lot of Willem Bruker's work, which I don't think it sounds anything like, but he's a Dutch saxophonist, composer, band leader, who's really, I guess like interested in ways in which like free jazz can be a people's music in a meaningful sense, or improvised music can be. In the same way, like people like Archie Shepp were, that you like don't pull any punches artistically, but you try to create some version of radical work that returns to a place of popular consciousness. So I liked a lot of the stuff he was doing with Brecht, the titles of Brecht reference, and I was just trying to do little songs and ideas that had like a in the same way that like the Brecht short stories have like an obvious point, so like a little more didactic than my other stuff. So I
Mhm.
thought that record was like, here's a violent one, here's some triumphalist, and then like, oh, like there's a theatrical quality, like, oh, the triumphalist thing's coming apart, like it's not, that's not working, or like this is a happy one, sounds like a sunrise, life is, it's a nice pasture. So I don't know, I let myself be a little more representative on that album, maybe, I thought.
That's cool. So I guess now, I guess your own label. What can you tell me about Kettle Hole?
Yeah, it's I am loving putting stuff out. I have more time for it now, so it's a lot of fun to me, honestly. I hope to just do more. And it's, yeah, the name is a reference to like a geological formation of glacial deposits that it happens in Illinois. Not like they're everywhere. I don't have any particular experience with them, but it's a nice kind of couple words, like the cellar door kind of thing, I thought. So that's about the whole story. It's like, oh, I got to start releasing stuff myself. Better come up with a name for a thing.
Okay, that's
And
sick.
yeah, and then maybe someday
So
I'll have more, I don't know, more of
I
a
guess,
story for that I'll come up with in retrospect.
yeah. I mean, when did it start exactly? I guess, or when did you start releasing stuff under the label name or whatever, Kettle Hole?
August of last year, 2019.
Oh, so it's pretty new. So
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, when did it start, and like, what's the state of things now compared to then? But I mean, it's generally pretty like new still. So
Yeah, pretty new.
yeah.
So all I can say is that yeah, it's pretty new. Fun to be working with friends
Hmm.
as always, and nice not to, because for me it's like you can be persnickety over the work itself, and particular over all the little creative dimensions of it,
Hmm.
and then to do all that and then be on a schedule that you can't control with a label or whatever is like, it's totally how music works, and I understand that's good and all that, and it's fine, but it ticks at my impatience, so I like releasing stuff this way. It's fun.
Yeah, that's tight. Do you think you'll ever, I guess, just like sign or like put out music by people that like you're not involved like with in making the music? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I
I
don't
guess.
know. I don't know just yet. I've thought about it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are shoestring operations, admittedly, for most people that do any sort of small self-release label for their work in free jazz, and obviously you can grow it into something else or improvised music. But I think like in this particular case, it can be, until you know that you can independently of playing shows or of being in person making, this is very breast tax, I'm sorry, but like
Yeah.
until you know that like you can actually sell someone else's record, it wouldn't be a great thing for either of you to
I
do
guess
it.
that's true.
So I'm
Yeah.
better at selling my own stuff because I'm the one doing it, and if I carry him around
Yeah.
with me at a show, it's like, hey, I'm the guy. But like, yeah, it's someone else's work. They might have a better time being somewhere else for the moment. They give it a
Yeah.
couple of years, and I have a reliable amount of people that are gonna buy records I put out. Then I could say, hey, I could do one of yours. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
I feel that I've never actually thought too much about that in terms of labels, but I mean that's totally true, you know.
Warm in Chicago.
So what goes into the aesthetic, I guess, of like your little label thing? So like who does the art? Is that you or
I do all the artwork. Yeah,
that's sick?
yeah. It's been nice to kind of have self-imposed deadlines to finish these things on.
Yeah.
Definitely helps you come up with I don't know, it's like, oh, I gotta put a thing out. It's gotta have. I mean, not that I foreclosed upon the idea of using other people's work. I would like to, commission some covers and stuff in the future. That would be nice. But it's been a way for me to be like, hey, you gotta put something out there, figure it out, and that kind of helps you come up with more ideas in the long run, I think.
Yeah, I feel you. So are
Yeah.
you like going for like a specific aesthetic or anything, or is it kind of just like, oh, I feel like this kind of fits the record that I'm putting out?
I don't know. I am pursuing certain like ideas in what I do in terms of visual work, but I don't. What I attach to any record is like if we're collaborating with other people, then I'm passing it by them, and maybe I send them a folder. We choose, because
Yeah.
we all talk, or we kind of do like a bespoke thing. Like we all talk about what we want to try to pull off, and suggest a couple ways we could do it. So, yeah, I can't say for certain.
That's tight.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your most recent release, Devouring the Guild, that I believe was like just released. Like, was that in October, beginning of October, or
Yeah,
beginning?
beginning of last month.
Okay.
Which that was, yeah, that's an improvising trio, one of my first upon getting into this music in Chicago, moving here with Bill Harris and Eli Nami, who now lives in Pittsburgh. And we recorded that at the Whistler, I think last May or June. The record says, I think June.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's we'd been working on a second album for a second. I think we have some studio takes we might do something with someday too.
That's
But
sick.
I just really love playing with those two guys, and it was great to put out a second thing. I think it's pretty dense music. It's funny because it's a great bar for still having music like this in town, because it is like a cocktail bar. It is like it's not a bar that only people that want to hear jazz or violent improvised music, go
Yeah.
to. It's a place that get a lot of passerbys from a neighborhood that is considered to be maybe transitional or something, that it's transitioning from being a place where you might find some sort of so-called DIY youth culture to a place where there's like a storefront Target on the main avenue. So
Oh.
whatever that means. The character is changing. And I like that we can still do that on the main strip in
Yeah,
Logan
that's
Square.
pretty
So I'm
sick.
glad yeah. So glad to release. It's kind of it's nice to me to produce these live documents that come from some different places that we play in town. That's fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, I guess this is another thing. So, do you just like record everything that you do and like maybe hold on to it until you feel like, oh, this is like a good release, or do you like kind of, perform a trio or something with the intention of like, okay, this is going to be a release? Because I know you said you still have like studio works that you're holding on to too.
Yeah, that sometimes we did, I think in this case we just had done some stuff in the studio, and then also Bill is a talented engineer and someone who I hit up for a lot of that kind of stuff, and he
Uh-huh.
is our drummer, so he recorded us. We were like, hey, can we do this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess no, I don't record everything. I know
Okay.
some people. I mean, maybe people that know their productivity a little better than I do, that have been doing this for longer, see that they're just like, yeah, it's every band I do, if there's a tour, we should record a couple shows, see if we can make some records out of it, yada yada. I get that.
Yeah.
No, for me it's more of like we're trying to make a record thing, because why not think about it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Mm.
cool. So, I guess your releases are more intentional. That's sick.
Yeah, or either that, or I'll just get faster and looser with recording as time goes on. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So, tell me about your record with Patrick Shoshi and Rob McGill. I guess it's called Triplet Fawns. How did that come about?
That
And
was great, man. I was really happy to be able to work with those two. Some favorite saxophonists doing the thing. That was basically Rob had come to town here in Chicago, and I think I might get this wrong, but I believe it was Dave Rempis that kind of headhunted. Maybe he had my friend Julian Kirshner, who we
Mhm.
played with, and Charlie Kirch, and we all played a day together at Elastic, I believe on Dave's series. That he kind of put together on Rob's behalf, or it kind of had someone had Julian put together,
Mhm.
and that was my introduction to Rob, who didn't really, I don't think, know particularly many people here in town, and vice versa. I don't know a lot of people out in Ohio
Yeah.
by any means. And so that we played together, made some music that I really enjoyed, and then I hit him up later. I guess that was probably that same year or the next year, to try to make a trip out west where I hadn't been before, and play with him. And I was familiar with Patrick's work, and it just kind of cold called to see if he'd be down to play with us, and he kind of host me and set up a show in LA too. So that was a
Oh,
really
that's sick. That's
nice set
sick.
of dates out there. Yeah.
So, you did a West Coast tour. Like how? Like who else did you play with? Was it just Patrick and
It
Rob? Or
was
did,
A very small tour. It was it was more of a stop or a bop over than a tour, but that was what was nice about it. Yeah, I played with Robin Ohio and Robin Patrick in LA, and that was it. Just a little junket,
That's
but a
amazing.
visit to me. Yeah, and I
So,
got to yeah. I'm sorry.
so I was gonna say, I guess Triplet Fawns, that was just a product of like your little bop over to the West Coast.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So were those like live recordings, or I guess?
No, we did that in a space studio. It was not Patrick recorded us. Yeah, on Zooms.
Oh, that's sick.
So yeah.
Yeah, Patrick and Robert for sure. The homies have had them both on the show.
Oh, fantastic.
Love
So,
all their
yeah.
output, dude. They literally just kill it. Rob's just always putting stuff out. It's insane.
They're both very prolific. Like I don't
Oh,
know what it is, what's in the water these days with all of us. That like I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm always like trying to finish this dang thing. It's like Rob's like, here's 3 more CDs.
I know, dude. It's literally crazy.
Hard.
Like I try to
So
support like local as much as possible, you know. And I'm just thinking,
yeah,
dude, Rob, you're putting out so much stuff. I can't buy every record, dude. You know.
yeah,
But yeah, I love it, dude. It's honestly so sick. I feel like Rob is just like, you know, this like hidden gem of like, oh hi, that I feel like more people should just like know about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely, yeah. And also just like he's a I he could describe this far better than me, but I know he's quite the concert organizer out there too, and brings people
oh
through.
for sure. Yeah.
Which that's like so essential to this music, and he's really made that a stop people talk about. I think in this
Oh,
form.
100%.
Yeah,
Ohio in like the recent years hasn't really been a thing at all until
really.
I guess like what Rob has been like doing, you know, like
Yeah,
at these shows like all
Herculean work.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's honestly crazy, dude. Um yeah, I'm bummed he had like a bunch of stuff lined up like pre-COVID and it
Mhm.
just like all fell apart. So hopefully we can get some more of that post-COVID, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So has the pandemic influenced your creativity in any way? I like to ask this question just to everybody see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. It's too soon to tell whether it's for the better or the worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everyone might be suffering from a bit of myopia from not having like people check them creatively through collaboration as much and just constantly working on, not constantly, but often working alone, finishing things alone, or via email. I see my friends, and I see a lot of the people I make music with just to hang. But I don't know. I've been doing more like visual art and stuff and practicing a lot, which is it's important as a saxophonist. But I can't always tell if I'm producing anything. But it's just nice to work on stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's kind of a recurring thing when I ask people. They're like, "Yeah, I picked up visual art and
Yeah,
trying to make visual art." You know, I feel like that's just a common thing for a lot of people right now.
yeah, it really is.
Can't
And
anywhere.
that's
What
sorry.
were you saying?
Oh, no, I just said it really is. And yeah, for having some time with the horn, I guess the creative dimension of it is like, I mean, there's part of this where I was working less. It's been kind of bouncing. I still have a day job at all times and been
Mhm.
bouncing between those due to COVID madness. But when I was working less during the summer, because I had been in education, which was over period, for the summer. And also there was nothing else to do. Yeah, just practicing a ton in no particular direction was really nice.
Yeah.
Without something coming up that I, even though I make a lot of improvised music, I often have some like, a tiny handful of things that I'm trying to do something else for.
Mhm.
And I somehow, still allow that to dominate my time and thinking as if I'm always like chipping away on like, oh, I'm going to write music for this group. And I got like, oh, this is a big, it's like whinging and working away on that. And I'm sure people do that, but it's really nice right now to be like, I am not working on any direction. I'm just
Yeah.
quiet. And then, or I am, and then I'm like trying to work on a project that I know it's like, hey, if I try to like learn these solos, they will not, that's just in the bank. Like now I know that, it's nice
Yeah.
to plan that way again because I haven't been for a while. So and I should keep doing it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah,
That's sick. Well, I'm glad to see that there is just at least a little bit of productivity coming from
sure, yeah,
work.
yeah,
You know, I feel like there's a lot of people too that are just like a lot of musicians that I'll ask too that are just like it's not a very inspiring period. Like I haven't gotten anything done.
yeah. I
So,
know it really it's there's parts of it that are infuriating. Like I thought I would be reading a lot more. I'm embarrassed that
Yeah.
I like, despite all the time, I'm just not like at much greater of a click than ever because it's just, you know, it's like I don't know what media I consume. Seemingly nothing. I don't like watch movies I want to watch or finish books I want to finish. It's just, you know, I'm sure I do bit by bit, but it's just it's funny.
Yeah.
It'll all, you know, we'll look back on all of the things we tried to make happen during this, you know,
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
somewhat doomed period in a funnier light, I hope, and
For
in a
real.
forgiving one.
Yeah, I'm not a musician, but yeah, there's so many things that I've tried to plan out to get done that just happen. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm
Yeah,
like, it's gonna give me so much time to be productive, and then just nothing happens. Nothing comes of it. And I still have like plans for all these things. And I'm like, I'll do that. I'll start that. Oh,
totally.
maybe today I should start that. And then, you know.
Start it up. What have you been working on, or what kind of things are getting you through?
Oh, well, actually, I mean, most of the time I've just been focusing on, I guess my radio show. My radio show has changed a lot, actually,
Yeah.
compared to like what it was before. So, I mean, I guess that's something kind of creative, you know what I'm saying? Um, but just like random things here and there. I'm trying to build like, what's it called? Like a stereo, not like a cabinet, but like, I guess like a stereo cabinet, you know, to like
Yeah.
put like my hi-fi stuff in, like my record player, my stereo, all that stuff. And then like also like a storage unit for like my records too, kind of have it in like all one thing.
Hmm.
And my dad does like CAD, like computer aided design stuff. So he like sat down with me and like we designed this thing up to spec, like exactly how I would want it. And then I just never went forward with it, never bought the wood, like anything. And I'm like, I need to do that still, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a bigger man. That I find work like that intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just like, but so anyways, I think we're getting close to wrapping the show up here. But so I guess like shout out some music or artists you're currently digging right now that are kind of inspiring you, or just some homies that you want to give a shout out.
Yeah, I mean, Rob and Patrick, like I said, have both been doing a lot of stuff during all this. There's so many homies I want to give a shout out to. Bill's little label, Amalgam Music, check that out. He's been putting out a ton of stuff. That's Bill Harris here in Chicago.
I'll have to check
And
that.
Julian Kirshner just dropped a great record with Sebastian Stringing, Swiss reed player. Aside from like friends of mine in this music, there's all sorts of stuff I've been digging into. It's been a great period for listening, you know.
Mhm.
So that's a huge part of my day, and I have to remind myself that just sitting still and listening to records is like one of the better things to do.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to like a lot of people in rap and keeping up with stuff in that genre. All sorts of stuff. Aside from the guys I just mentioned here in Chicago and friends all around, it can be hard to, you know, keep track of if I'm listening to things that are particularly new. So sometimes you're shouting out things from the past. I remember a lot of great stuff on Astral. I'm terrible at keeping up with like what's the one of the week, but my friends Leah Cole and Macy Stewart are putting out a duo on there that I'm very excited for, and is
Mhm.
previewable, I believe, at the moment. I have been loving some of the stuff they've been doing from like I guess older generation artists. Like there's a Burton Green trio record on there that I just love. That was a really cool thing to hear after so long. That I know he's been releasing stuff for, you know, these past decades, but I don't always see it. So it was just nice. And yeah, I think there was some quieter periods. So yeah, that was cool to listen to. Aside from, yeah, I don't know, getting into all sorts of different horn players from throughout the world. A lot of older stuff,
Yeah, that's sick.
you know, listen to a lot of like Coleman Hawkins and, you know, Lester Young and all the old, you know, Illinois Jacket. I just spend time listening to stuff like that. Yeah, that's the shout out to those two.
Tight. Hell
But
yeah. That's an expansive list. Hopefully our listeners got some pen and paper. That's tight.
I know I'm chugging through, but yeah, another thing I'm really enjoying lately, to speak to the earlier stuff about like Willem Brooker and the Dutch kind of Brechtian school. I like these Alfred Hart. Wait, am I gonna get this right? Alfred Harth and someone Goebbels. It's a dubiously famous name. Let me see. Either way, two German saxophonists that do some
Yeah.
awesome stuff that I'm just discovering on the FMP label. So
Oh, that's sick. What is
quite,
what is FMP? I've
I
never heard.
believe it stood for Free Music Production. This is sorry, dead air.
You're chilling.
I like to know.
Is FMP a label from I guess like the past, or
Yeah, from the past. So these are, I'm talking older music.
like what years were they? Were they
Heinrich Goebbels. He's 70s, 80s, probably up until the 90s, they were still putting stuff out. I know they've kind of reincorporated. They have a Bandcamp under Destination Out where you can find all this music, which is
Oh,
pretty
that's cool.
cool. But you know, this is all the great stuff from like early era Brotsman.
Oh,
You
wow,
know,
that's amazing.
yeah, all sorts of different people on there. So these two in particular are two German sax players and multi-reedists, and I bet they played some. I think one does accordion, but they do a lot of like
Wow,
Hans
that's insane.
Eisler music, all
Yeah.
that old like communist anthems from the 30s and stuff. So
Well, that's kind of
I've been
sick.
getting into that. Yeah, been enjoying their records.
That's super cool. Do you ever get into like, I guess ESP's really old catalog from like the
Oh
60s?
yeah, that's I get into that. That's love that stuff. That's kind of foundational to me. That music,
Oh,
not just
yeah, for
like so much music from that time. I don't want to romanticize any particular label, but so much music from that time was so important. And then so important. But I feel like the records on that label had a particular the ethic was allegedly the artist alone decides, and I feel like that comes through at a lot of the records because they do have the spareness to them, that they're not overly trying to be anything but the session, and that's
Oh,
kind
for
of like
sure. Yeah,
set
that
the bar for how a lot of this, what it means to put out 36 minutes and 40 seconds of this kind of music. I think
yeah,
they're the OGs in that respect.
they for
But
sure
yeah,
are, dude. ESP, I guess is kind of like what got me into like more improv music and stuff, you know?
yeah, it's a great starting point. There's some
Yeah,
hard
for
hitting
sure.
stuff on there.
Yeah, I forget how I even came across. I think like do you know this like page called Insane Johnny? It's run by like the guy from Wolf Eyes on
Yeah,
Instagram.
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, dude, he like posted something from ESP and I was just like, oh, this isn't a meme. I'm gonna look this up. And this was like years ago. And
yeah.
yeah, I was like, wow, this is amazing. So
Mhm.
yeah, ESP, great label. I'm gonna have to check out. You said FMP?
Yeah, FMP. That's a you'll if you like ESP, it's a good corollary.
Oh
All
hell
the early Schlippenbach records. There's too many people to name. It's everything. Incredible run of Cecil Taylor records that aren't as well known in the West.
yeah,
A ton of solo stuff from the '80s. Yeah, just the back catalog of Cecil on there is kind of unreal if you like Cecil Taylor at all. But
yeah.
there's a ton of stuff. Yeah,
That's sick. You said Peter Brotsman was on there too?
a ton. Yeah,
Yeah, that was another person that Rob was supposed to come to Ojai, which is
yeah,
insane. I was like, dude, Rob, you got Peter Brotsman? That's literally insane, dude. I don't
yeah.
know. Bummer that it couldn't happen, but
Didn't come together.
yeah. So anyways, where can people keep up with your projects? And do you have any like last remarks for our listeners?
Oh yeah. Well, I have a website under my name where I keep all my projects in one big list, and there's not much else on there. So GerritHatcher.com, easy stop. And I'll just put a chronological list of everything I release, whether it's on my label or somewhere else. It's all there. And then kettlehole.bandcamp.com for the stuff I'm putting out under my own label. And
Do you have
my
any
plan is,
do you have
I'm
any
sorry?
socials you're active on for people to keep up with?
I do have an Instagram under my name.
Tight.
Uh, they can keep up with me on there, whatever weird stuff I'm posting. But yeah, yeah. I think that's about all I had to plug at the moment. Is all those records on that site.
That's sick. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
no
So
shows.
yeah, oh,
Yeah,
soon
but
though.
hey,
Soon,
this is
soon.
you gave me a show, so I like that.
Oh heck yeah.
I enjoyed recording this set. I was immediately like, oh, you know what? This is something I can be doing. It's nice. Yeah,
I believe you said over email you have a record coming out soon, so people can look out for that.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, I feel like I might have gotten ahead of myself on the scheduling there. I really thought I could have it up for this, but I don't. So yeah,
That's okay. That's
keep an
okay.
eye, watch this space.
Yeah, keep an eye out for it. Check GerritHatcher.com, I believe, right? GerritHatcher.com.
Mhm.
Yeah, check GerritHatcher.com. Keep up with the new release. So before you go, I actually have one more question that I like to ask people. It's kind of a fun one.
Mhm.
So are you ready for it? It's kind of a doozy.
Sure.
Okay. So a rat is going to jump into your mouth.
Uh huh.
Do you want the rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first? And why?
Oof.
It's a tough
I don't
one,
know.
right?
Head first.
Why?
Just an instinct. That seems less scary to me. I've seen, for whatever reason, I've been around rats in my life. I guess maybe volunteering as a zoo as a kid or something. I don't know. They they use the bathroom a lot, so I'm gonna take that. I'll take that first, and hopefully it doesn't last too long. I can get rid of that.
Don't want any hantavirus, I guess.
Is that something that could happen?
I think hantavirus is like the virus you get from like
Feces?
yeah, from like the feces and stuff. That's why they say like be careful if you go into like abandoned buildings and stuff and you see rat feces because like I guess like breathing in the fumes can give you hantavirus.
I do not want hantavirus, so
Exactly.
that's exactly why. Thank you.
Yeah, I usually like to go for the vegan option, which is you know, tame that guy, put him under your hat, and then you have a little ratatouille homie to
There
help
you
you
go.
cook some dinner.
Exactly.
So yeah, thanks again, Gerrit. I believe that's all we have for today. Be sure to tune in to the show, or if you're actually listening on the show on KCSB FM 91.9, that is Sundays 4 to 6 p.m. And then the following Saturday on NetNet Radio 8 to 10 p.m. So yeah, thanks again, Gerrit. It's been
Thanks for having me on, Thomas.
a
Pleasure.
blast.